Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Aha Moments. I am Christina Brady, President of Sales Assembly, and we have partnered with Sales Hacker to bring you the top female icons in tech, talking about aha moments that changed their lives. I am very excited to have Stephanie Cox with us here today to give a light rundown of your incredible resume. You are currently the president at Lumavate, but previously the VP of Marketing at Project Lead the Way, the director of digital marketing at One Click Ventures. You've had a little bit of experience with the with Salesforce Marketing Cloud at ExactTarget. You've done a lot of incredible things. Tell us about you.
Yeah, I've been really blessed. I think a lot of times, when you think about success in your life, it's a lot of hard work and a little bit of luck. And that's really how I got started in my career. Like some people don't tell you that it's a little bit of luck. For me, when I graduated college almost 20 years ago, which is hard to imagine, one of the things that I kind of lucked into was the idea of digital marketing was starting then. So because I was the young person, it was like, well, you can manage the website. Can you figure out how this email marketing thing's going to work? How does social media work? And really, I think that's where I fell in love with technology. And from there, I just always tried to gravitate towards roles where I could learn and do a lot of different things. One of the things that about me that I think is a little unique is I don't like to be just challenged. I like to do really hard things. So I get bored very easily. So it needs to be a really hard, complex problem. And I need to constantly have new things to do and learn in order for me to feel like personally and professionally fulfilled.
What I love about what you said, one, the idea of doing really hard things versus being challenging, even that in and of itself is a very cool paradigm shift. But I love that you fell in love with tech because you were tasked to have to figure out how to do something, right? Like figure out this tech piece, and then in figuring it out and taking it apart and looking at it, you fell in love with the industry and the movement and kind of what has become so much of the norm in everyone's day-to-day lives. So that's a cool way to fall in love with what you do professionally.
Yep.
There was a lot of aha moments just in that, but I'm very excited for what's to come. But please share with us your aha moment.
My biggest one, honestly, happened about 10 years ago. And really, if I think about how I was raised, I'm a Midwestern. I was born and raised in the Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky area. And a lot of times, we are humble by nature. I also clearly am a woman. So a lot of times, I think that played a lot into it. So I heard a lot growing up, like, be a good girl, be polite, be nice. I cringe when I say this, right? But like, make sure you're always smiling and happy. And, that's how kids in the 80s were raised. And, when I started out in my career, I was the same way, right? I was the nice, polite person that had a lot of ideas and would suggest them and tried not to get upset or frustrated when no one listened. And when I felt like overlooked, even then, when I would see someone else say the exact same thing and have it paid attention to and be told what a great idea it was. And so, I felt like I had to ask permission to do my job. Well, I remember 10 years ago sitting in a conference room and I had seen a problem with an area of the business and it wasn't the area I was responsible for. So I kept suggesting on how we could fix it. And it went on for about 6 weeks. And then finally, we were in another meeting about it. And someone next to me said, verbatim, the same words I had been saying for 6 weeks. Everyone's like, that's a great idea. We should do that. And I kind of lost it, not personally, not in the room, but I went home and I was angry. And I think it was the first time I got really angry about how I was being treated. And I knew I couldn't change that, but I could change how I reacted to it. So from that moment on, I decided that, I might bring up and say hey, I think we could fix this issue this way if it's outside of my area of responsibility. But I was done waiting for someone to tell me it was okay to do it. So from then on, I started just doing stuff I stopped asking for permission to do my job. I stopped asking for permission to do things outside of my job. And I just started doing it. And, my philosophy was, you know what? Someone will tell me to knock it off. If I step on people's toes, which is why I hadn't done this before, someone will say, hey, my space, get out. Guess what? It's been 10 years. People haven't told me that.
Yeah.
Because what I find is, I'm very talented. I work very hard. But more importantly, like successful people get more to do because they're successful and they take on challenges and they find, solutions to hard problems. And so when you keep taking on more and more and more, like willingly, no one tells you to knock it off. And for me, that was like the biggest aha moment in my career. And it really changed the trajectory of where I'm at today. Because, if you look at like, how did I go from really being someone who is trained as a marketer to leading sales to customer success, support, product, and now the entire company? It's because I saw areas that we could improve and I just started doing things until someone told me to knock it off. And I'm still waiting for that day.
Well, you're guiding with integrity and you're guiding with experience, and you're focusing on doing the right thing. You're not focused on how you present. And I think as a fellow daughter of the 80s, I feel like that was the emphasis on us growing up was how do you present? It's not who you are. It's not how you think. It's how do you present? And it's being humbled and it's being okay with other people taking credit for what you think of. Like when you were talking about sharing your ideas very, very openly, and then somebody, whether they intended to or not, essentially just taking your idea and getting the praise for it, we have to pretend that doesn't hurt and pretend that doesn't sting. And then we have to be concerned about the fact that that was my incredible idea. And, that could have been my moment that elevated me and now it didn't. And now I have to find another one. And when I do I have to brag about it? And is it okay as a woman for me to be braggadocious? It's like all those things are there versus what you're doing now is taking that entire life experience and saying, what if I stop worrying about those things? What if I wait until, what if I step into my light for who I am and not just how I present? And that's a message that girls need to hear, women need to hear. Anybody who identifies as female is just kind of living in your light and living in your true self. And in business, that can work. And people won't tell you to shush up. If anything, hopefully the trend that we are starting is embracing women in leadership roles and listening to them and not silencing them and pushing them out of their light. So what an incredible thing to share.
It's honestly for me, it's been the biggest change in my career. And I think it's important too for other people to hear it, especially people early on in their career, because oftentimes I think they find themselves in such similar situations where they don't feel like their voice is worth being heard, that they don't have as much experience, therefore they should kind of keep to themselves. And I tell my team all the time, you know so much. Diversity of opinion and perspective is so important. And so, yes, you don't have 20 years of experience and you might be out of school 2 or 3 years, but you have a different point of view than I could possibly have. I want to hear that. The world needs to hear that. And I don't think there are enough people saying that. And I think it's really important. It's really important to create a generation that feels confident in being who they are and sharing that. And as leaders, we encourage it and welcome it.
Absolutely. Well, there was so many incredible things that you mentioned in there and a lot of aha moments. Hopefully you just turned some people's light bulbs on. So Stephanie, I can't thank you enough for coming and sharing your experience and a little bit of what makes you you, and for helping all of us to kind of see that as well. So I appreciate you being here. Thanks for joining us. And we'll see you all next time. Bye.